On the 11th of February, there will be a big balance patch. And today I want to take a look at how I expect the meta to change for every single game mode. I make this video very concise, just a short summary of what I would expect will happen. I will start with World vs. World. So in World vs. World, there are 3 things that are happening and that are really big and they are going through with every single spec. So the first thing is they decrease the amount of barrier. So that means it will definitely go in a way that the boonballiness of the current Zerg gameplay is definitely decreased. Just because you have less barrier permanently, because you can now only get 25% of the maximum health as barrier maximum. And that's just 50% nerf, that's huge. It's also decreasing all of the different barrier application skills as well, and also decreasing boon uptime. So boon uptime, especially Alacrity, is completely gone from sharing. The only exception to that rule would be Harbinger. Elite skill, everything else is completely gone when it comes to Alacrity, but also other boon uptimes like Resistance, very important boon, or even Might application, and some really other very useful, just very long-lasting boons just decreased baseline. And that leads to a little bit less just spammy gameplay and hopefully less tanky gameplay so that the Zergs die somewhat fast. But let's jump into the other changes here as well. So we have for Elementalist some nerfs to Dagger. It was quite oppressive, it was a really strong build, and now with the Transmute Frost Aura probably is gonna be getting nerfed quite hard. The other changes here to Warhorn and Spear here are not that crazy, they will help, but most importantly I would say Catalyst and most of all Tempest are really hard nerfed by this change. So there will be definitely less Tempests around, especially with cleansing, and that's, I think, for the better. It was a really strong build. When it comes to Engineer, Engineer is nerfed in barrier application and boon access, but also got some interesting changes to Acid Bomb, so a little bit more damage here. And I would say overall Engineer will definitely be less usable, but as everything else was tuned down as well, I would say Engineer is still in a very good spot when it comes to Scrapper or even Holosmith. And don't get me wrong, Tempest will also be completely viable, but it will definitely be less strong. Guardian, I would say the biggest change for Zerg gameplay here is definitely Stoic Demeanor, so that you get less resistance uptime. Way less actually, because of the internal cooldown 5-fold, that's crazy. So you can see they hit it really hard. Also Willbender for roaming will be way worse because of the changes to ammunition, to the virtues, also the cooldowns are going down. So definitely decrease in value when it comes to roaming. For Mesmer, big nerfs when it comes to support Mesmer in Zergs. So we have way less boon uptime, Vigor duration goes down, Fury duration goes down, also Protection is way nerfed here, and also Illusion of Life and Alacrity. So a lot of the really strong things here are going down. I'm not sure if you will still want to run Chronomancer. Let's see. Virtuoso got also a little bit of nerfs, but most of them are not that impactful. So Necromancer, big nerfs, especially to Boon Corrupt and Support Scourge with the barrier application and Nightfall going to 40 seconds. It's a huge change, so I would say Necromancer, yeah, stocks are going down here. But some nice buffs to Spite, so maybe we will see that. And maybe Spite Reaper will come back for Zerg gameplay, but Scourge is getting hit again really hard. Barrier application. Maybe we see some, yeah, Spite, Scepter, Scourge Reaper or something like that to Boon Corrupt, but the Greatsword is definitely gone, and I would say Scourge is also quite hard hit. Ranger gets some changes to Spear, but most importantly some nerfs to the boon uptime, and of course to Glyph of Stars. So I think Druid is hit really hard in this patch. I think the Might application here is a little bit sad. Untamed buffs, and also of course the big buff here with the Ranger Pet, that the Ranger Pet will now have only half, not even half of the cooldown when it's defeated to swap, so that's really good. Let's see if we can make an Untamed build work in a Zerg, but yeah, we will have to test that. Then Revenant gets some really nice buffs to the auto take of Sword. That's good, but I'm not sure if you can use it in a Zerg because you have to be melee to hit that. Otherwise it gets really hard nerfs to all the really useful skills like stability and pain absorption and also healing on Ventari. So yeah, I think Renegade is definitely gone because of the Alacrity change, and maybe we see some nice Herald or Vindicator with the Sword and Shiro. Of course, also for roaming is really strong. So this is a really big change when it comes to roaming. Power Herald will probably be a really good roamer now with the changes to Shiro and also buffs to Sword. So let's see how that works out. Thief gets really hard hit when it comes to roaming and perma-stealthing. I think that's a good thing. They were really strong. However, Black Powder is also hitting Spectre. That's a little bit sad, but that's just how they do it. They should have gone for Shadow Arts, but they changed a lot of skills. However, I think Spectre is in a good spot. Maybe you can use it as a support now in Circing way better. It's already used, but now it's way better. And then we have Warrior. Yeah, just again, resistance uptime decreased. The rival changes, I don't know. I think just for memeing, but maybe we see at the XX Warrior for Circ gameplay. New relics are not affecting World vs. World too much, I would say. Let's talk about PvE next. So PvE is not that crazy. We get some Elementalist nerfs to Fresh Air. Fresh Air Scepter Tempest, that's probably for the better. It was a really overperforming build. Then we get some changes to Spear. Spear will get nerfed a bit, but also buffed because of the fixed problems. And then we have some changes to, Warhorn. I think that's a good thing. Warhorn was a little bit of a weird spot. Now it's a bit more supportive. I think that makes sense. Elementalist will still be meta when it comes to where is Blade. It's a really good DPS, and we may even see the comeback of Support Tempest because it's a little bit of underused support. Engineer will definitely get some nice buffs, especially Scrapper will have even better quickness access, and I think that's really good. And I think also the Spear changes to Engineer help a bit, but not too much for Engineer and PvE. For PvE Guardian, the only thing is that Dragon Hunter gets a little bit of a buff that's heavily needed, so I think we will see some more Guardian gameplay because the benchmark will just be better for long-term fights like raid encounters or strike encounters. Then we get some changes to Mesmer. Mesmer will get nerfed in the power department. Dagger and Spear will get nerfed a bit. However, Sword will get buffed, and that's about it. I would say we also see some Virtuoso nerfs. Power and Condi DPS Virtuoso, I think that's fine. They were really overperforming. And the biggest change is that, of course, they buff again the Power Mirage. Maybe we'll see it this time. But also we get some Illusionate Defense changes. So you now get not protection every time you shatter, only on the second shatter skill. But the protection uptime is higher. So I think that will be fine. In the end, it will turn out to be exactly the same, I guess. For Necromancer, actually nothing happened. Only some Dagger trait rework. We will see if we will use this trait instead of the well-reviving trait. I doubt it. But maybe we will see some nice siphoning with this trait and Dagger for a support Scourge. Ranger will get some nice buffs for the Spear. Definitely will now be playable as top DPS. So I think Spear will be the best weapon there. And some changes to Untamed skills, but not that important, I would say. And then we have some changes to Herald. Herald will get nerfed in PvE. When it comes to Boon Herald, Power Herald will get buffed. That's about it. I think that's a good decision because Power Herald was a bit underperforming or not even existent, and now Boon Herald is a little bit less strong and still very much useful. So I think this will definitely not affect how you will play Herald. I think Herald will still be very playable, but might not be the only choice when it comes to quickness support. Then we get some nice Thief changes. I think Thief Spectre will definitely be now really good support. Might not be always the best, but I think now it's way better because it has a lot of AoE. And depending on the numbers here, I think that might definitely turn out for the better for Spectre in the end. And then we have some interesting changes to Warrior. Warrior will probably have some really nice buffs when it comes to Power Warrior because of dual wielding, but also Rampage, and just interesting changes to Bladezone as well. I think just overall needed buffs to Warrior. The relics, I think nothing too crazy here. They will not change too much. But of course the summon relics might be fun for people that enjoy having a minion party around them. So PvP, there are some nerfs to the Dagger Elementalist. I think that's good. It was overperforming. I think it's now that's strong anymore, especially Tempest one. The Dagger one is probably already outclassed by Hammer right now, and it will even get worse with this. And especially because of the Spear Specialist nerf here, I think Dagger will not be meta anymore. I think Heimer Catalyst will go back to meta with Staunch Auras. Maybe with Spear Specialist, but most of the time I would say Staunch Auras is a really good choice. So Hammer Catalyst will probably be the best side noder again. When it comes to Engineer, I think Engineer, maybe Prot Holo will come back, but that's about it. Nothing too crazy here. Engineer will stay the same most of the time. Then we have Guardian. I think some nice nerfs to Spear of Willbender. Sadly, that's not enough, I would say. Willbender will probably still be quite decent. Maybe not with Spear, maybe with Greatsword, but I think it's definitely a very good pick still. Even with the sword nerfs, I think nothing too crazy here, and the Firebrand buffs are definitely not enough to make it work again. When it comes to Mesmer, I think Mesmer gets some heavy nerfs, support Chronomancer I'm talking, because of the boon up time. That is here the Fury duration almost halved, and the protection gets really, really low when it comes to protection uptime with the shatters, so I think that's hitting really hard. I think that's good, because then I think Chronomancer and Tempest will probably be on the same spot. Then we have some buffs to Mirage, which is actually insane, because Mirage was already really, really strong, Spear Mirage, and Spear did not get nerfed in PvP at all, but now it gets baseline 10% more damage with Vigor, so that makes it really, really strong. I think that will be the new meta aroma if you can play it. Better than Willbender for sure. Necromancer gets some nerfs to Spear, and I think that's okay. It was really strong with the damage performance on the second skill. Gets a buff for the fifth skill, so maybe we get to still see it. I think that's a nice build, and I hope we can still play it after the patch. Ranger definitely playable after the patch, especially Untamed with Spear will probably be meta again, just because of the buffs to it and also the nerfs to the other specs, so I think that will be a really, really strong build after the patch. And Condi Herald gets hit quite hard. I think Condi Herald will now be a valid pick still, but will definitely be way worse just because of the Echoing Eruption change and the cooldown increases here. So that means that probably Power Herald will also be at the same level almost because of the buffs of Sword, which is good. I think Power Herald is a community favorite, so I think this is a really interesting change, and I think a lot of people would rather see a Power Herald than a Condi Herald. And then we have Thief. Yeah, nothing too crazy for PvP. I think the Spectre buffs are helpful. Spectre was already quite decent. Now it's getting somewhat more reliable with the support, and I think that might make it even back into meta, and maybe even the best Thief deck for PvP after that buffs. And then we have Warrior. We have some nice meme rival Warrior buffs, but I think nothing too crazy for Warrior when it comes to PvP. And the Relics, yeah, I think Relic of Searching might be the best for PvP, especially with Power Herald. I think that works really, really well with the Shocking Aura and Elite skill, so I think that will be meta, but that's about it. I think that was all when it comes to the changes. I tried to be really fast and concise here, just give you a short overview what my predictions are. Let me know your predictions in the comments if I was completely wrong about something, and let's see how this ages. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for all the support, especially Timo for support on Patreon. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. And I hope to see you in the next video.